Today, I'm gonna tell you about the time that a bear almost ate me and my sister. And welcome to the world of Profe Kyle, and this is a simple English video. Simple English because I'm gonna try to not use too much crazy vocabulary, too many crazy slang words and expressions. Of course, if you want that, you're not going to find it in this video. This is more of a video for pre-intermediate learners, so learners with a A2, B1 level, designed to help them keep on advancing their English, get more vocabulary, improve their listening. I'm going to try to get subtitles in English for this video, so if they're here, they're going to be right here, clicking on the closed captioning button. And also simple English because I'm going to try to speak slowly. Sometimes my students will tell me, Professor, teacher, I really enjoy your classes because I can understand almost everything you say, but I don't understand what native speakers say when they speak. That's because they're speaking at their regular speed. In these videos, I like to slow down my speaking speed so that it's easier for you to understand what I'm saying. That doesn't mean that I'm changing my pronunciation. My pronunciation is exactly the same as I would use when I'm speaking quickly. I'm just going to be speaking a little bit slower so it's easier for you. And that's why it's simple English. And today I'm going to tell you a story that people from cities seem to love, because people from cities don't really see animals that often. But in my case, I grew up in a forest in the countryside of rural Canada, specifically in the province of Alberta. And in rural Canada, especially if it's in the boreal forests of Canada, there are many wild animals. There can be cougars, there can be wolves, there can be bears, there can be, of course, lots of deer, there can be moose. There are many different types of animals in the forests of Canada. And in my part of Canada, there are bears. Now, the bears that we have aren't the big, giant grizzly bears that you might be thinking about. Those bears live more in the mountains, and I would say more in British Columbia. So there are grizzly bears in my province of Alberta, but they live closer to the Rocky Mountains or in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And then the other grizzly bears, they live on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, more in British Columbia and along the coast. Now, in more of the boreal forest part of Canada, you have black bears. Black bears are smaller, and like the name says, they're usually black. So when my family first moved to our little acreage of 80 acres in Alberta, we knew that there were bears. But black bears, they're not known for being super aggressive. In general, bears aren't known for being aggressive. The only time a bear is known for being really aggressive with people, attacking them, is if A, it's a mother bear with her cubs, or B, it's a really, really hungry bear. It's starving, it needs food to survive. In that case, it will hunt and kill a human because it needs to eat. So really, like for the mother bear, you just really gotta try to stay away from her. Of course, if you're hiking in Canada and it's not really your fault, just all of a sudden in front of you there's a mother bear with her cub, not really your fault, it's just you're screwed. She's gonna attack you. And of course, if you come across a really hungry bear that's starving, again, not really your fault. It's hungry and you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you're just shit out of luck, as we say in English. You have no luck, you're just unlucky. So I had never seen a bear um, until I was, how old was I? Until I was about, I think, I'm gonna say 10 years old. 10 years old. So yeah, we had recently moved to this acreage by a new town. So when I was first growing up, so for the first, I think, 6 years of my life, I lived in southern Alberta, where there's not a lot of bears. Just the top predator in that part of Alberta is the coyote. But yeah, and we soon moved to northern Canada. Well, no, sorry, not northern Canada, northern Alberta, where yeah, there are bears. So I hadn't seen a bear before, and when I was 10 years old, I saw my first bear, and this is that story. So my sister and I, we were coming back from school. So we lived in the countryside, and our elementary school was in town. So if you've ever watched movies, American movies, you've probably seen the famous American school bus. And Canadian culture is very similar to American culture. So my sister and I, we took the famous yellow American school bus to school and back from school. And our parents never really picked us up. My father worked, so of course during the day he was at work. I don't think he finished work until like 5, 6 p.m. And we finished school at about, we always got out of school at exactly 3:15. So of course our father was working, and also our mother was working at that time. During my childhood, my mother always had different jobs, whether it be her own company or working for another company. So yeah, she had a job at that time too, so she didn't really finish work until 5 p.m. So it was my sister and I's responsibility to get back home taking the school bus, which wasn't a big deal. Ever since we were 5 years old, we'd taken the school bus to get to school and get back home. We'd never had any problems. So that day, I believe it was the fall. It was the fall. I think it was probably October, because it was cold, but there was no snow, and it wasn't that cold. So we weren't wearing winter jackets yet. We were just wearing sweaters, and we weren't wearing winter boots. We were just wearing regular shoes. But it was cold. There were no leaves on the trees at that time, so it was either end of September, beginning of October. And we had just gotten off the bus. It was 4 p.m. and we were walking up our driveway. We had a very long driveway. It was an acreage, so of course lots of land. We didn't have a short driveway, we had a long driveway. So we had to walk up the driveway, walk up the hill in order to get to the house. And on our way up to the house, every time we went to the house, we had to go past the barn. The barn and the, what do we call it, the shop. It was half shop, half barn. So a shop is basically just a place where Americans, Canadians will have tools and will work on vehicles, or will build things. If the Canadian has enough money, they'll have a shop. And our father had enough money to build himself a half shop, and then the other half was a barn. So a barn is where we'll keep animals, especially in the wintertime when it's really cold. We'll keep the animals inside of a barn to keep them warm. So we'd always have to walk past the horse pens where the horses were, the barn shop, and then go up the hill to get to the house. So on this day, my sister and I was 10 years old, my sister was 9 years old at that time. You know, two young kids, not a care in the world, just walking up the driveway like we usually do. So we're walking, we walked 20 minutes, and at that time we were walking past the horse pen. And we're walking past the horse pen, and we look to our right, and we notice that there's a bear. There's a black bear. There's a black bear in the horse pen. Now, I'm guessing that we probably look to the right because, of course, when there's a predator around a horse, the horse will have all its attention on the predator. Their eyes will be wide open, and their ears will be forward, and posture will be really rigid, and they'll be paying attention. They'll have all their attention on the predator. So, of course, all the horses at that time, they were looking at the bear, and they were also snorting. So when horses sense a predator or there's a predator nearby, they'll start snorting at the predator because they're scared and they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And yeah, so we see that. We look to the right and we see a black bear. We see a black bear in the pen with the horses. Now, it was probably hungry, and of course some of the horses were in small pens. So I'm guessing the bear probably thought he had an easy meal because the horses were trapped in a pen. All he had to do was corner a horse, kill it, and he'd have some food. Now, one thing to know if you don't know much about bears is that bears are very omnivorous. So that means that they eat both meat and plants. And in reality, if they have a choice between just eating plants or eating meat, other animals, they'll probably choose plants. Maybe if the animal they want to eat is dead, so they're just scavenging, they come across it, then yeah, they'll probably choose the meat over the plants. But of course, hunting an animal, it takes a lot of energy. So in reality, if a bear is able to, he'll just survive off of plants. But this was the beginning of October. There were no plants to eat. He was very hungry. So he probably came across our place, saw the horses in the pens, and thought, why not take a chance? I'm gonna get some easy food. I'm gonna get an easy meal killing a horse. So he was probably trying to figure out how to kill a horse when my sister and I show up. Now, you see me, I'm pretty skinny, and my sister is pretty skinny too. My parents are both skinny people, and of course, when we were 9 and 10 years old, we were just skin and bones, more or less, not very intimidating, and we probably seemed like an easier meal than the horses to kill. Now, my sister and I weren't very smart. Of course, we were young. So, in Canada, we learn what you're supposed to do when you come across a bear. So first thing, when you come across a bear is you shouldn't run because the bear will think that you're prey. What you should do is stand your ground. Now, I believe the rules can be different depending on the species of bear. If it's a black bear, a polar bear, a grizzly bear. I think if it's a polar bear, you're gonna die, and a polar bear is gonna kill you. They're absolutely huge. There's nothing you can do. With a grizzly bear too, yeah, I think you can scare a grizzly bear easier than a polar bear. But yeah, like if you're getting attacked by a grizzly bear, you're just gonna have to pray that it doesn't kill you. But we're trained to basically try to stand our ground, make ourselves big, and defend ourselves, like not run away. I don't know why I made the decision because, of course, I was the older brother, so I felt my sister, she listened to me, she followed my lead, and in my head, for some reason, I thought, oh, we need to stand our ground, make ourselves bigger, and try to scare the bear. Looking back at it, probably not the smart choice because the bear really wasn't close to us. The bear was probably, I'm not very good at estimations, but he's probably 20 meters in front of us. So even though we were small, I do believe there is a big enough distance that if my sister and I just calmly kept on walking. We probably could have made it to the barn, made it to the shop, and been safe. But again, my first time seeing a bear, being confronted by a bear, I'm guessing I just panicked. I wasn't using my brains. So my first instinct was, all right, my sister, you and I, we need to intimidate the bear, stand our ground, we need to make some noises. So the decision we made was to climb the fence, stand on the fence, put up our arms, and make noises to try to scare the bear. So there's a young Kyle and young sister beside me, really small, really skinny, and going, "Roar, roar, roar," and maybe saying, "Get away, go away," something like that. So trying to make ourselves look intimidating. But of course, we're 10 years old, skin and bones. We're not very intimidating, and this bear was hungry, a hungry bear. So the bear actually didn't really notice us. Again, it was a stupid decision. So when we were walking, the bear didn't really notice us, probably because he was completely, he or she, I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl, was completely focused on the horses. But of course, when we climbed the fence, we started making noises and we put our hands in the air, the bear notices us. So the bear probably looks at us, looks at the horses, looks at us and thinks, what is easier to kill to satiate my hunger? The small kids standing on the fence. So before that, the bear wasn't coming towards us. But after making the dumb decision to try to intimidate the bear started walking towards us. So at first, my sister and I, roar, trying to be scary. And then when the bear starts walking towards us and we realize how dumb of a decision it was to try to scare the bear, we start crying. So we have two kids. Thinking that, oh, we're going to die. We're going to get killed by a bear. This was a horrible, horrible decision. Trying to scare it and trying to make noise. So two kids crying. Now, animals can be amazing. Horses can also be amazing. They're not the smartest animals in the world, but sometimes that human domesticated animal connection is incredible. So between us and the bear, not really between us, but so there was us, the bear, and then there was a horse pen right here. So it's kind of in front but beside us. There was the oldest horse that we had. This horse was a mare, so it was a female horse. She was about, she was an old horse, so she was about 23 years, I'm going to say 23 years old, 23, 25 years old. She was an old horse. And not only was she an old horse, she wasn't really a horse, she was more of a pony. So a pony is basically a miniature horse. Now, she was a pony, but she wasn't like a small pony, but she wasn't a horse. So she was a bit of a mixture between a pony and a horse. So a small horse, basically a really small horse. Not super small, but yes, a small horse. So you would think that a small horse like that wouldn't have the bravery, wouldn't have the balls to try to intimidate the bear. But this horse, she was famous. She was famous in our family for being incredibly smart and being loyal. So quick story about how smart this horse was. I remember when I was when I was a kid. I think it was me, not my sister. But basically, I was leading the horse. So I was on the ground, she was beside me, I had the rope, the halter was on her face, and I was leading her, and I tripped. I tripped, and I fell in front of her. And when I did that, basically I fell, and my head was right underneath where her hoof was gonna step next. So you would think an animal like this, not the smartest animal in the world, and I didn't have a great relationship with the horse, but you think that it wouldn't really pay any attention that I'd fallen and just keep on walking, just step on my face, maybe even kill me, and yeah, that's the end of my life. But I fall, and when the hoof is coming down, she stops. So the hoof right above my head is right here, and she stops, and she doesn't step on me. She keeps her hoof right there, she lets me get up, and we continue on our way. And that was just an incredible moment in my young life, just seeing how smart and considerate this animal was. So yeah, for whatever reason, this horse was very loyal to us. Like, she was an old horse. She'd been through a lot with our family, and she was loyal, very loyal. She had a bad attitude, but she was very loyal to our family. So the bear starts coming towards us, and instead of this horse just, staying in the corner, just letting everything follow its course, letting the bear attack us, maybe even eat us, she decides to start charging the bear. So basically she starts running and fake attacking the bear. And when she does this, it scares the bear, and the bear starts moving away from us, and the bear's attention goes away from us and now goes towards the horse. And yeah, the thing with predators like wolves or bears is that if you show that you're not intimidated, like you start really kind of attacking them, they'll get scared because they don't really want to fight. They want to get injured. In the animal kingdom, if you get injured, there's a good chance that you're gonna die, whether it's that day or in a few weeks, because you have a broken foot. And you can't get food if you're injured. So obviously the bear was being charged by this horse of ours and was intimidated, a little bit scared. And right at that moment, when that horse was charging the bear, up the driveway is driving our mother. She just got back from work. It was about 4:10 p.m. about 4:10 p.m. I'm guessing. And she sees her two kids on the fence crying. "Ah!" So she stops. She rolls down the window and she says, what are you guys doing? What are you guys crying about?" And then we point to the bear, and she realizes that there's a bear in the pen trying to attack us. So, of course, she tells us to get in the vehicle. So we get off the fence, we go into the truck, and we go to the shop. My mother, she calls, can't remember what it's called in Canada, the wildlife, like basically the wildlife police. We basically have people that deal with wildlife, police that deal with wildlife in Canada, or at least in each province it might be different, but in our province there were like wildlife police. So she calls them, says that there's a bear, and yeah, I believe the horse did enough to scare the bear back into the forest. The wildlife police officer comes, he sets up a bear trap. So basically the bear trap was like a tube. Inside the tube they put like a big piece of pork stomach, like bacon inside, with all the sauces and things that bears really like. And by the next morning, the bear is in the trap and they've caught the bear. So yeah, it was a very, very scary day for us, for my sister and myself, and also for my mother, because of course every mother is going to want to protect her kids. So luckily the bear was caught. I don't remember if they killed the bear, if they just took it far away from human civilization so that it could be in a more wild setting and away from humans. I don't remember, but that was the first time seeing a bear, and it was not a great experience to have a bear want to eat you. So that's the story of how my sister and I were almost eaten by a bear. What do you think? What would you have done differently? Scary, not scary, what would you have done in that situation? Let me know down below in the comments. And I hope with this simple English video that you've practiced listening to English and your vocabulary has improved a little bit at least. And if you have any questions about this, let me know down below in the comments. I have another bear story, so if you like bear stories, I can tell you about the second time I came across a bear while I was walking with my grandma, and my grandma forced me to be a man and protect her. That was also an interesting bear story that I could tell in another video. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon, my dear, dear student.